Alright, how y'all doing? I got a package today. The little package. Don't worry, the little package didn't come in the big box. I'm just being... It's the little package that's important. Just pretend I'm trying to hide my carpet. Alright? Because it leads into a project that I've wanted to do for quite some time. In the tiny packet is a Sabrent M2 SSD, 1TB, that I wants to pop into my baby Doomslayer, which is a full-on AMD-based rig that once upon a time, the plan was put and run Linux on it. Because it'd be the first time I've had a big boy PC, like powerful PC, with Linux on it. That got put on the back burner for a while, but now I'm doing it. However, first things first, because the M2 slot's in an awkward place, I'm going to have to unplug all my cables out of the back. And if anyone's giving you any gripe about your cable management and the amount of fluff going around your floor by your computer, have a look at mine. And this is only a small selection of cables. Like, normally there's way more hanging out the back of this rig than that. So take these out so I can take out the screws, and then if anything needs to come out, I can just whip it out. And the SSD is like really tiny, but it's got to go into that little like silver strip between those two Elgato capture cards. So I'm going to have to take the top one out. And if anyone's curious, the top capture card is an Elgato Elgato 4K 60 Pro, HD 4K 60 Pro, what the hell ever it is. It's one of those, it's one of their top of the line capture cards, which doesn't actually matter because I can't use the top of the line features with my graphics card. It's not supported, so, but it's there for a reason I'll get to in a bit. Now, pop in the SSD. Whilst I'm in it, we'll put that drive in. I'm going to unplug my main OS drives. I don't like installing operating systems on other drives when I've got other drives plugged in, just in case. I've got Manjaro GNOME on there. I like Manjaro, it's Arch based. We're going to go for the full Open Magic drivers because why not? I'd normally go Intel, Nvidia for Linux, but because I was told open drivers are good now. Do that. So let's do that. And if anyone's curious about the actual specs of the rig, they're here. And this is the result. I'm in Linux now. The journey wasn't entirely smooth. I'm not gonna lie to you. Biggest gripes I've had. Theming, which is a Linux thing that just irks me. It just really irks me. Theming doesn't work. You set something to respect a certain theme, and for some reason, maybe it's just this rig. I don't know. It just hates me. I couldn't get theming to work properly. OBS just looked really wibbly wobbly and broken. So actually, you know what? Hang on. As soon as I'm here, let me show you what I mean, because we're in OBS now, right? So, go to my main desktop, assuming it's actually set up correctly. Bam! Okay, so here's a thing. And look, it's white. This doesn't come out white by default. It's normally in dark mode. But for some reason, initial launch of the application comes out fine. All of this will be in the darky color here, okay? It's great. Looks great. It's beautiful. Fantastic. Then for some reason, I close the app, relaunch it, and only on this rig, the theme breaks, and you see white borders absolutely everywhere. That's not the only issue I have, okay? So I might end up ruining this recording, but bear with me. Okay, we're going to add video capture device. I've got another webcam in here. Go, check that out. Look how broken that is. That's broken. It's awful. It's broken. It's broken. Okay. Hit OK. Go back in. It's fine. Change a few of these settings and it'll break again. Just break again. There was that, and I've had no end of audio issues. No end of audio issues. I mean, admittedly, one of them was a dodgy adapter. It's not Linux's fault, but one of my microphones just doesn't work. Just doesn't like Linux at all. Fine, was expected. I'd already had this issue on another rig. But then my Zoom H2 wouldn't work. I mean, it worked, but it didn't work. Like as if there was a sample rate mismatch, and nothing I did seemed to stop it from not working. I could play audio out, fine. Recording it though, not so much. Then, you know, capture card wise, those capture cards don't work. The two that are in there, they won't work. I knew they wouldn't work. I had thought that perhaps the 4K 60 Pro would have worked because I'd heard or read somewhere that it was UVC compliant. I'm sure I've had it running in Linux over like a live, what's it? But just no, the other card in there is an HD60 Pro, and I didn't expect that to work at all because it has proprietary drivers, whatever. I'd normally only use that one for my camera, and then the 4K 60 Pro would be for like consoles or whatever else needs to be captured. As I said, I can't even use it to its full capabilities anyway because of I don't have an NVIDIA graphics card. That card needs an NVIDIA graphics card to be able to fully function for reasons I can't quite figure out. But there you go. Doesn't work on Linux. Anyway, not that that matters either, because I've been doing the Linuxy thing for years, and over the years I went out of my way to buy hardware that would work with Linux. So why have you got those two cards if they don't work with Linux, Scares? There was a problem with Doomslayer last year when I bought it. So I actually bought this as a pre-build. It's customed, but pre-built, if you get what I mean. Like I picked out a machine and I said, actually, no, you know what? I don't want that. I want that in it, and I want this in it, and I want that in it. And they put it together for me because I'm lazy. Built loads of computers in my time. I thought, you know what? I'll actually get one off the shelf. Power supply was knackered, and so anything I plugged into USB would cause the machine to not boot. So we bought the internal cards in hopes that it would not be. Turns out that just the power supply was balked. We didn't know the power supply was balked, so you know it didn't really help. But I've got like Flint 4KPs, Magewell clones. You can get like little Linux compatible capture HDMI dongles for like £10-12, something like that. Just like single input things that are like the Elgato Camlink 4K, which is actually what I'm using right now to capture this camera. Just in case anyone didn't know, the Elgato HD60S Plus will work on Linux too. So some of the bigger brand capture cards do work, just make sure they're UVC compliant. Sad about the internal capture cards, not like that's a lot of skin off my nose. But I just can't believe how much trouble I've had today. It's brilliant having a Linux PC that is mega fast. Normally, my Linux machines consist of old business machines. I did try, so like, I don't know, like Gen 2 i5s. I think the most powerful Linux rig I'd had up to this point was an Intel Core i7 3770K. Was it 3770? Is that the right one? Yeah, I think that's the right one, 3770. And then it had an AMD Asus Radeon 7970 Direct CU2 in it. And at the time, I couldn't get on with AMD and Linux. It just didn't work for me in the graphics department. So my next Linux build had a 1050 Ti in it. Well, I actually had a 750 Ti in it. Then I put a 1050 Ti in it, and that was fantastic. Then tried to put Linux on a gaming laptop. So that would have been the more powerful Linux machine up to that point. But there was an issue with the trackpad. I don't normally use trackpads. I'd normally use keyboards for editing, and I'd have a mouse in my bag. But just in case, you just wanted to, scrolled about a bit. It's nice to have the trackpad working. Couldn't get it to work. Just couldn't get it to work. Just didn't like me at all. So I binned off that idea, and it didn't matter anyway because the fan failed in that machine, and I only fixed that like a little while ago. But so Doomslayer is now the most powerful rig, but fucking hell. Audio issues. Thankfully, I've got tons of audio gear and video gear just dotted about my house. So if one thing doesn't work, I could plug in something else. But I've never had so many issues. Theming, I always expect to have an issue. This UI bug in OBS, I don't know. I've never seen it before. It reminds me of an old Audacity bug. I had a bug in Audacity 2 on this install, but it turns out it was Wayland. We're now using Wayland's. Don't worry about it. If you know what Wayland is, you know what Wayland is. If you don't worry about it. But we had to... Wayland is like new, and we had to drop back to Xorg to make Audacity display the playhead properly. So, yeah. Although, fantastically, on open drivers and everything, on an AMD GPU, they have gotten a lot better. I played me some Ziggurat. I actually got to play games on an AMD graphics card on a Linux rig and not want to cry. I am so happy! Because my main rigs have always generally been AMD rigs. I only started going Intel Nvidia with Linux. And this is fantastic. But now I have a Linux drive in my machine. Oh, I'm well chuffed. It's good to be back, and it's good to actually have a powerful rig. It takes minutes to install Linux on this machine. It's fantastic. Not entirely sure how to fix the little buggly bugs I've got, but then I never expect anything to work right out of the box. Anyway, got to try KDE Plasma today too. It's nice. At one point, I was getting so wound up with theming that I was like, you know what? Sod it. I'm just going to install i3, Tile and Window Manager. Don't need this. Don't need it. Sod you, OBS. I'll find another way. I'll stream from the terminal. I'll just stream using FFmpeg. And I'll edit in FFmpeg too. Stuff you, Caden Live, because I had theming issues in that too. Don't ask. Just themes don't like me. Themes don't like me. And apparently Linux doesn't like this machine, because all of my other machines that I'm running Linux on at the moment, none of these bugs are there. None of them. And one of them was actually reinstalled, everything reinstalled on it recently, so it can't be just the install. So, maybe it is, I don't know. I don't know, I'm just talking fluff. But this is my adventure in getting Linux on my baby. Well chuffed. Absolutely well chuffed. More hassle than I needed, than I wanted. More hassle than needed, but it's done now. It's done now. Has anyone else had a particularly troublesome time getting anything to do anything when it should just work? What's your story? I'm going to go have a coffee. The sun was up when I started this. It's now getting late. Or I might just be getting old and blind. Might have to install Debian. See you in the next one.